When I receive something I don't deserve, I've received grace. And we know that Jesus is actually the embodiment of God's grace. He is grace incarnate. And so when God looked at his creation and looked at our sinful state, looked at how we were separated from him because of sin, he didn't just look at us and leave us there. No, he sent Jesus. Jesus is that gift from God. Jesus came down, lived a perfect life, and yet he still died on a cross for the sins of the world. And then he rose from the grave so that we could have new life. And Jesus is grace. Grace is God's gift to us. But today I want to look at a different aspect of God's grace than what we've talked about before. So let's look at the life of Paul, his telling of his own story. He says this in verse 9. He says, "For I am the least of the apostles, and I do not deserve to even be called an apostle." What's he saying there? He's saying, he's talking about the leaders of the church, and he's saying if you were to rank all of the leaders of the church, if you were to put up Peter, put up James, put up Stephen, put up all these other leaders of the church, he says, put me at the bottom of the list. I'm the absolute worst. I'm the least of them all. He's saying that in humility because of what he admits here. I persecuted the church of God. See, Paul used to be an enemy of God, and yet now he's a follower of God. He used to be a persecutor of Christians, and now he's a preacher of Christianity. And so that's what he says, man, I'm the least of all of the leaders because of what my story used to look like. But now he's a changed person. And look at what he attributes that change to. Here's what he says. He says, listen, it's by the grace of God that I am what I am. He said, I'm not that persecutor I used to be. I'm not that evil man I used to be. Now I'm something different. And why? The grace of God. That's the reason why I am what I am today. And God's grace to me was not without effect. He's saying it changed me. Man, God's grace transformed me. And he goes on to say, no, I worked harder than all of them. As a leader of the faith, Paul did anything and everything to share Jesus with people. He was willing to put in the extra effort. He went the extra mile. He was tireless in doing this. He was imprisoned. He was beaten. He was even spit upon, and he was called out, and he was hated by people. And he did all of this, but he says, even that effort, listen, it wasn't me, yet not I, but the grace of God that was with me. Grace saved Paul, but it also did something else in his life. And that's the big idea I want us to grasp today, that the grace that saves you is the grace that changes you.